with his rocker that he wasn't using. He was using one handle instead of two. And all of a sudden, he's falling. And I grabbed him on the chest so he should hit the ground. And then someone took over for me. But I kept him from falling.
Hey, Shabbat Shalom. Okay, so Rabbi Barris is in Jerusalem, so you're stuck with me. Let us bless this beautiful day. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. סברי, ברוך אתה אדוני Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. L'chaim.
For sure.
And our blessing for Torah study. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, Vitzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Amen. All right, so we on Shabbat always have a double portion, right? But we actually have a double portion in our Torah reading this morning. We have Chukat and Balak. So before we begin, Victor, come on up. All right, Victor told me that he had some trivia about Parshat Balak that he wanted to share, which is perfect because I'm going to focus on the other Torah portion. All right.
So I was traveling in D.C. in February, and I came across a plaque. I just basically stumbled across this plaque. If you know D.C., this plaque is located in the Monaco Hotel, which is California with the Capital One basketball arena. And I took a picture of the plaque. I can show it to you. Anyway, Samuel Morse, artist and inventor, opened and operated on this site under the direction of the Post Office Department, the first public telegraph office in the United States, April 1st, 1845. And below that,
Yea, Israel, what God has wrought.
you know the sentence? That comes from Balak, Numbers 23:23. The translation on the plot is terrible, but in Hebrew, it says, Ma Pa'al El, only 3 words. What has God created or forged or wrought? And so that comes directly from there. Why am I telling you this?
Good question.
Okay. In a demonstration witnessed by members of Congress, American inventor Samuel Morse dispatches a telegraph message from the U.S. Capitol to Alfred Vale at a railroad station in Baltimore, Maryland. The message, what had God wrought, was telegraphed back to the Capitol a moment later. The question was taken from the Bible, Numbers 23:23. So it basically created modern telecommunications. This was the first commercial telegraph company that existed. And that, of course, resulted on our country being so great today. Telecommunications really opened up our expansion. And now celebrating 250 years birthday. So, thanks to
All
God.
right, thank you. All right, so we're celebrating 250 years of the United States.
Rabbi, somebody left this at the bagels.
Oh,
So,
hey, it's Victor's. Is this yours?
No, that's not mine.
Oh, okay. Thank you. It's Carol's. All right.
But I forget to say
Wait. But it is not only America's birthday. Today is Norman's birthday. Woo! Not 250, but 94. So let us sing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Norman. Happy birthday to you. Yay! Thank you for spending your birthday with us.
Definitely many more.
So, as I said, we have a double portion, Chukat Balak. Balak, because we're in the triennial cycle, it's the end, and it's Matovu, and it's beautiful, and we will sing it if you stay for Minyan. But Chukat has one of the strangest moments in the Torah. And I didn't want to skip over it. So today we are going to talk about Parshat Chukat and a very, very strange passage. Okay? You guys ready for it? You ready to be weirded out by your own religion? I know. It never happens. Okay. So we are going to be talking about the Jews complaining. That's not strange, right? We're used to that. The building of a copper snake. And perhaps agency. We shall see. Okay, so the triennial cycle, we are only reading Numbers 21 today. Okay? And I would like to start out with something we have seen before, which is our people complaining. All right. Nothing new. Okay, so we are does everybody have the handout? No. Okay, so I think they're over here. But I want to read Numbers 21, verses 4 and 5. And then I've added in for you another similar complaint from earlier in Numbers so we can see how familiar, what's the same, what's different. All right. We start reading here, correct? Hold it. 21, can you do 4 and 5? All right.
They set out from Mount Hor by way of the Sea of Reeds to skirt the land of Edom. But the people grew restive on the journey, and the people spoke against God and against Moses. Why did you make us leave Egypt to die in the wilderness? There's no bread and no water, and we have come to loathe this miserable food.
All right.
He
Pause. All right. Now, let's look on the handout I gave you numbers. All right. Can we read Numbers 11, verses 4 through 6? Or
The rabble who were among them had greedy desires, and also the sons of Israel wept again and said, "Who will give us meat to eat? We remember the fish which we used to eat free in Egypt, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. But now our appetite is gone. There is nothing at all to look at except this manna."
All right. Now I'm taking you back to English class. All right. What is the same and what is different? Look, there's already who came and punched the board? Somebody's like angry over here. Okay, what's the same and what's different? Somebody tell me. Okay, Ed.
Well, I'll get to a difference,
Yes.
which is in the earlier generation, they were purporting to remember Egypt with a specific desire to go back to Egypt, whereas
Okay.
here they're just not trying to remember Egypt, they're just complaining about where they are.
Okay, so before, they were reminiscing, waxing poetic about those wonderful days when they were lavished with free food in Egypt, right? Okay, beautiful. Yes. Pass that mic. All right. Can you pass it back? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. So in Numbers 11, they are talking about all of these variety of foods like cucumber and leeks and onions and garlics. And when we read about this, because of the variety of foods, some said that it was the riffraff that were eating that. But now on this one, it says bread and water, which is more of the slaves kind of food.
Okay, I love that. So before, it sounded more decadent, right? Like we're missing, Michael's catering, right? Whereas now, it's just bread and water, like the basics. Yes, Carol.
Yes, so when I read this, I'm thinking of the other people that was on the journey, the magician and the other Egyptian who was eating like this. Because I, as a slave, I don't believe the people of Israel was eating like that. So I think those are the people who was complaining. Also, after the miracles, they probably thought it was going to be a world of wonder traveling to the promised land. But God is about humbleness and humility of the soul. So he doesn't normally take us on the high road that we expect blessing to come, but
Right.
he take us through a journey of learning closer to being humble and with humility.
Okay, beautiful. So, beautiful point made with the second passage, and with the first, the difference of who is doing the complaining, right? Earlier, it was these rabble-rousers, right? Which rabbis like to say is part of the mixed multitude. God forbid the Jews would have started the complaining, but we're happy to join in, right? This time, it's the people. It's everybody. It's not just this one group starting the whining. Yes?
I think that's the same about the two readings is the contempt for the manna.
Right, okay. So the same is we're sick of manna, right? Or we don't want this manna. How do they even spell manna? It's like, okay. Sorry, they spell it differently in different places. Okay. The manna in both is boring, right? Notice, okay, in Numbers 11 it says there's nothing to look at except this manna. Now you may remember the rabbinic commentaries on manna, right? We did this, where manna is this miracle food that could taste like anything, but it looked the same all the time. Like tofu, exactly. Right? And when your food is beige, it gets boring, right? We're supposed to have colorful plates, right? But here, they loathe manna itself. Okay, so we're gonna like jump in a little bit to think about like what it is about the manna at this point that the people loathe it, okay? They don't want, right? Tofu's fine, give it to me in some stir fry. They don't want the tofu at all, right? All right, so what is it that they hate about the manna? And by the way, this is later, right? They know that it's enough to keep them sustained. All right, so we're gonna look at some commentaries. Of course, I give you too long of the commentary, so we'll break it down together. But who will read the Or HaChaim for me? Oh, wait, we're over here. But I gave away the microphone. All right. You know, having microphones makes this all, okay. Thank you.
You want the Or HaChaim?
Yes.
The people spoke out against God and against Moses. Although the people were perfectly aware that everything Moses did, he did at the command of God, this did not prevent them from speaking out against him, as they felt he should not have agreed with God's route for them, but should have pleaded that God lead them through a more hospitable country. It would appear that the people's complaints in this instance did not justify God's decreeing a major punishment, as was the case when they had complained after hearing the majority report of the spies in Numbers 14:3. At that time, the Israelites had demanded return to Egypt. This time, they merely indulged in slander against Moses and God. God punished them by letting snakes loose.
Oh, I forgot to read that part. Keep going.
Letting snakes loose against them. Seeing snakes symbolized slander ever since the time Eve was tricked by a snake into eating from the tree of knowledge. This is the reason the Torah introduced their complaint by mentioning the detour around the territory belonging to the king of Edom. Our sages in Bamidbar Rabbah say that the people who said all this were the remnants of the earlier generation who had nothing to look forward to but death in the desert during the coming months, as they were destined to die before the Israelites would enter the Holy Land. They were fed up with their very lives. The same did not apply to the younger generation, who had much to look forward to in the immediate future.
Okay. I put this out of order. So now we're going to go forward and backward. All right. Sorry. Let's read what this is talking about, the scene from 21. Will you continue to read in 21? 21? Yeah. Starting with 6.
6. Okay. The Lord sent serpents among the people. They bit the people, and many of the Israelites died. The people came to Moses and said, "We sinned by speaking against the Lord and against you. Intercede with the Lord to take away the serpents from us." And Moses interceded for the people. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Make a seraph figure and mount it on a standard. And if anyone who is bitten looks at it, he shall recover." Moses made a copper serpent and mounted it on a standard. And when anyone was bitten by a serpent, he would look at this copper serpent and recover.
Okay, here's the weird part. Okay, sorry. I put this in the middle, so we're going to go back to the manna, and then we're going to talk about the snake. But since I did it wrong, we're going to just keep going with it. Okay. People are complaining, right? What happens when people complain? God reacts, right? With the spies, what did God do?
Wandering in the desert.
40 years in the desert, waiting for that entire group of whiners to die out, right? This time, how does God punish the people who are whining? Snakes. Snakes. Okay, the snakes come, and what do? They bite them. When else do you think about snakes in the Bible? Yes, Adam and Eve, creation, right? We heard in this commentary from the Or HaChaim, he also references Eve and the serpent, right? So what did the serpent do? Okay, entices Eve to go against what God wants, right? And therefore she eats from the tree of knowledge and then feeds Adam. Okay, what's the punishment of the snake? Crawls on his belly and? Well, that's Eve's punishment, yeah, for sure. What's huh? Right, for the people. What about the relationship between the snake and man?
Enmity.
Right, enmity, where it says the snake will always be biting at your heels, right? Okay, so there's a lot of echoes of creation in this passage, okay, where we have the serpents biting at our heels. The dissatisfaction seems to be different, but maybe it's not. I want to come back to it. Okay, so the punishment is snakes coming and biting at our heels. What is the solution? By the way, there's a passage in the Talmud that says God never gives a punishment without a remedy. What's the remedy? Right, okay. Moses has to build this big copper snake that's on a standard, right? So that means it's on a pole, right? I don't have to draw, right? You can imagine a pole with like a serpent up on the top. And when people look at the serpent, they will be healed. All right. I know a lot of you are brilliant Torah scholars and already know what the rabbis have said about this. So let's do this on pshat level, okay? Simple, plain, just reading the text. What's wrong with this picture? It's idol. It looks like idolatry. I am praying to a legit idol, right? A statue, a figurehead, and it is healing me. All right. Yes, Nancy. Oh, where's the mic? Oh, can we pass it out? Thank you.
Well, 2 points. First of all, the instruction was to look at it, not to pray to it, to look at it. And in doing so, because it's up high, where are you actually looking? You are looking up at the heavens. And what and who is in the heavens but God's self? So therefore, it's instructing the people. You tease them a little bit, you give them something to look at, and you direct their view up to where you really want them to be focused on.
Nancy, you're a brilliant scholar because our rabbis very much agree with you.
Secondly,
yeah.
The snakes, I don't like snakes, I'll be honest with you. You know, when my son had a snake for a pet, it was like, you have to take care of it because I'm never touching that thing. And he was good, but they sort of get a bad rap at times because they're doing their job. But our job is really to be paying attention to what God wants us to do and not to focus in on our tummies. And that's where these people are focused in on. Thinking about food and not where the journey is taking them.
Okay. Awesome. I want us to hold that. Like, are they losing sight of the journey because they are thinking about food? Right? And by the way, does it say they're hungry? No. Right? Okay, so because I went out of order with one text, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, where it says copper snake. All right? Okay. And then we're going to go to the Mishnah. Mishnah, where it says the snake doesn't heal. It's going to sound very familiar because we just heard this beautiful commentary from Nancy. All right, do we have, will you read, Ed? The Mishnah, Rosh Hashanah 3:8.
Sure. The verse states, "Make for yourself a fiery serpent and set it upon a pole, and it shall come to pass that everyone that is bitten, when he sees it, he shall live." Once again, it may be asked, did the serpent kill or did the serpent preserve life? Rather, when the Jewish people turned their eyes upward and subjected their hearts to their Father in heaven, they were healed, but if not, they rotted from their snake bites.
Okay, so exactly, very familiar to what Nancy was noting, right? So when we're looking up to heaven, right, well, when we're looking up to see the snake, we should think, while I'm looking up, there's something even higher than the snake, right? There's God in heaven, and it's really turning towards God that is going to heal me. All right, so I am from Fort Wayne, Indiana, city of churches, lots of weird things going on. I don't know if you have heard of this weird Christian religious group, Richard has, who lets, they speak in tongues, and they dance with snakes, and they allow the snakes to bite them. Because of this passage. That if they have true faith, God is going to save them from the venom.
But who will save the snakes?
You would think that this group would have just died out already. All right, yes. Please.
Sorry, I just had this couple things. What does the Torah say about the difference between like idolizing something versus symbolism and a symbol of remembrance? And also I had this thought that snakes are kind of associated with fear.
Right.
And going along with what was shared, there's as it's up high and as you look towards the heavens, I also think of like birds. Birds are up high. So it's kind of like taking what could be associated with fear and having a little bit of acceptance. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but I know.
No, I love what you're talking about. Okay. I love what you're saying. One, because when we're bowing to the Torah, right? When we're doing a hakathon, the Torah is coming around the room and we're kissing the Torah and we're bowing. Are we actually worshiping that object? No. It's really that this is our connection to God. This is our connection to people. It is not, the item itself, yes, is a holy item, but it's not God, but it's our communication with God, right? So there is something to that respect and that honor and the symbolism of something, sometimes representing something bigger than it is. Once again, I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana, the city of churches, all right? I went with my friends on Sundays to church if I spent the night on Saturday. When you go to a Catholic church, you guys go on vacation. What's all around the room? Okay, beautiful windows. The stained glass usually has people on it, right? There are usually statues all around, right? There will be statues, of course, of Jesus and, of course, of Mary. But sometimes, right, it's the saints. And sometimes it's angels. And when a Catholic person, like when they're wearing St. Timothy, right, because they've lost something, right, or they pray to Mary because they need that mother figure, like, is it idolatry? Not according to them. These are symbols that are helping them to connect to God. By the way, when you go to India and there's all of those gods, guess what? They're also supposedly symbols to the one God. it looks like they believe in a million gods, right? But the more educated say they all go to Brahman, okay? So there is something like tricky about that. Usually we put the ark here so that it's our Mizrach, right? So we are really facing and bowing to God's presence at the wall in Jerusalem, and not so much the Torahs, but it can be very tricky because it certainly looks that way. So it's a very good question. And I also love what you talked about with fear. Because the people are scared. The Talmud says it is good to fear the government. And it's good to fear the king. Why? First of all, so society can function. But also, if you're scared of the king, all the more so you should fear the King of Kings, right? Which is God. So there is something, when you're talking about fear and looking up, we should be more driven by our fear of God than we are driven by our fear of other people in terms of like our decision making. So that was beautiful. You want to follow up?
Just really quickly, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Along with fear, I think respect.
Fear and respect.
I think I just had this thought come to mind, like, let's say like as a kid going to school, right? Like your parents pack you a brown bag lunch, and maybe at school, like you have good times, you have bad times, you're holy, whatever. But like, I remember getting like a note from the lunch, or something like, hey, have a good day. So I keep thinking that like, amidst all the tough times of life, these symbols, these things that represent those we respect and those we look up to, parents and God, they kind of remind us to like stay grounded as well.
That's nice. I love it. Thank you. So like the symbolism can be really good. Okay, let's turn the page. All right, so this is going to be like, just to finish up on the snake statue, and then we'll go back to the man and then back to the snake. Okay, so this is the Da'at Zekenim. Les, thank you.
Yaselan Shirah, make for yourself a fiery serpent, etc. The reason why God instructed Moses to construct a serpent, the symbol of everything negative since time immemorial, was to demonstrate that this very negative symbol would miraculously heal them from snake bites if used in the proper manner.
Beautiful.
It is only the Lord who can use distinctive instruments equally well for constructive purposes.
Okay, I loved this passage. Okay. All right, so he's really talking about why the symbol of the serpent, right? Why the symbol of the snake? So the same thing that is poisoning them can become the cure. So here, like since time immemorial, right? Back in creation, again, since the very first story of the very first people, snakes have been the symbol of evil, right?
I'll buy that.
But God can use even the evil for constructive purposes, for something good. All right, let's sit with that for a minute.
Isn't that a segue to the next Torah portion?
Beautiful. Tell us why.
Because, was it Balak was supposed to...
Oh, here. Mic her up.
Because there was supposed to be curses and he was the blessings in the segue, so it turned the curses into blessings with Balak. Right.
Beautiful. Okay, our mirror Torah portion, right? How'd we been? Because we're in a double. we have not just Hukat, but Balak. In Balak the king hires Balaam, this sorcerer, right? Again, we're like, really? There's sorcery? Okay. This sorcerer to curse the Jewish people, but the curses turn into blessings, right? The curse is transformed. And they said, like, here, he is saying that it's really God who can do this, or at least only God can do it equally well, right? To take something that was meant to be destructive and turn it into something that is healing and a blessing. But maybe we can do that too, right? Think about all of the bad things and like something good that has come of it, right? Notice, only God can do it equally well, right? I think about this. My sister, you guys know I'm a third-generation Holocaust survivor. My sister was named for my grandfather's first wife, who was murdered by the Nazis. When she was going to college, apparently, because I didn't know, I was 4 years younger, she did not discuss it with me. Apparently, she wrote her essay for college about the responsibility she felt as a survivor of the Holocaust, that like had the Holocaust not happened, she wouldn't have been born, and the kind of responsibility that puts on her. Never thought about it that way. Had the Holocaust not happened, I wouldn't be here. A lot of us wouldn't be here, right? Either because our families were survivors or because people migrated, et cetera, right? My grandfather in the camps, he was part of like putting God on trial on the high holidays. And he said something good had to come out of it. He saw Israel as that thing, right? Was Israel worth the slaughter of 6 million Jews, right? And 5 million others? That's debatable, right? But there is good that can be created out of bad. There is meaning that can be made. I'm listening to Rachel Goldberg-Polin tell the story of losing Hirsch in October 7th. And she tells this story of a doctor who was in the hospital and somebody started having an anaphylactic reaction. And so he ran and he grabbed an EpiPen, right? And he helped the person. Then, later that day, he was over at a friend's house, like families were over to celebrate Shabbat. And this woman had made cookies, and the boy said, "Are there peanuts in the cookies?" And the woman said, "No." And he proceeds to eat the cookie and then proceeds to go into anaphylactic shock. And what she didn't say was there weren't peanuts, but there was peanut butter. And everybody's worried because there's no EpiPen, and he looks in his coat and had accidentally taken 2 earlier that day. So because of the bad thing that happened earlier, he was ready to save this other life. All right, so powerful. By the way, her entire book is gorgeous and heartbreaking. And she reads it, so listening to it is really nice. But there is good that can come out of bad, but only God can get that balance right. Yeah.
Aren't snakes today a symbol of medical, you'll see it in medical logos going back to the Greek god of healing.
You're right. That's beautiful. Yes, you're right. Where are our doctors? Okay, can you tell us why? Ian, why is the snake there?
There are 2 symbols, one with a single snake and the other is with 2 snakes. And they represent 2 different schools of medicine in ancient Greece. The scapulas was, of course, the one that we've adopted now in modern medicine. That's the single snake.
Okay, so they're symbols of 2 different schools of science and healing.
No, It's a symbol of healing.
It is a symbol of healing.
Yeah, and in order to pull this apart, you have to distinguish between icons and symbols. Okay, an icon is actually this copper staff with a snake on it is an icon. And then you derive various symbols from an icon. So the snake in some cultures is a sign of veneration, particularly in the East, in Buddhism and Hinduism. Snake is a symbol of wisdom and knowledge. In Judaism and Christianity, it's a symbol of evil. So we've gone from an icon to a symbol. And when you write the word snakes on the board there, language is symbols. But there's many ways of interpreting going from icons to symbols. So I'm giving you that language to sort of pull this apart, the ideas that you're working on here.
I love it. Okay, beautiful, beautiful. All right, let's go back to manna for a moment. So then we can bring these two together. Okay. So we have we're complaining about the manna. We want to see what it is that's wrong with the manna. Okay? We're going to go a little bit further into that because the manna and the complaint about the manna is what it is that the people are really upset about, right? Why are they really upset? And then we can think about how is it that this weird scene with snake bites and creating this icon or serpent or whatever it is, how that is the proper remedy for what it is that they're really upset about, okay? All right, so we're gonna go back. I apologize again. Okay, so if this is 1, we're going to the back of the first page, which would be 2. Okay, so we're gonna read Rashi here. And this is, Victor wanted to start with a little trivia, right? This answers a different trivia question. What'd they do with all the poop? Right? Think about people wandering in the wilderness, right, for 40 years and all the herds of animals and all of this stuff. Where's all the poop? All right, this is going to solve that problem. Thank you, Hillary.
Because the manna was miraculously absorbed into their limbs and was not execrated, they derisively called it light. They said, "This manna will at some time or other swell up in our stomachs. For is there any mortal, anyone born of woman, who takes in food and does not eject it?"
Okay, so Rashi is saying they are complaining. Why? They're not pooping. They're not, what is happening? We are walking around eating this weird stuff. I haven't pooped in months. Right? This is weird stuff. Okay. So, one idea. All right, so now let's look at the Talmud in Yoma. Describes this manna. Will you read, Sherry? Yeah.
Bread of the mighty did a person eat. Rabbi Akiva says this was the bread that the ministering angels eat. Rabbi Yishmael said, angels do not eat bread. Rather, it means bread that was absorbed into all 248 limbs.
Okay. Again, this manna is weird. Quoting from Psalms, right? The bread of the mighty did a person eat. This bread of the mighty is manna, right? So one idea is that the bread of the mighty means that this was angel food. And we're not talking angel food cake, right? Angel food, right? And then they're like, dude, angels don't eat, right? It's rather that it was absorbed, okay? So we're not pooping. Why? Because it's being absorbed. Every single ounce of it. There is zero waste, right? We aren't excreting, because there is nothing to excrete. Our body is using every ounce of this miraculous food that shows up in the exact amount, right? No matter how much we gather, we never have too much or too little. No matter what we eat, we never have too much or too little. Very weird. Okay, so now I want to think about why that might be a problem. It's okay if you don't know. I don't know either. Yeah. Do we have a mic? I don't know. Can we pass the mic? I don't know where the mics are at this point. Okay, thank you.
Okay. The people lost control not only of their normal bodily function, but also they didn't have control over the food. They were totally dependent, and that sometimes creates anger.
Okay. I love this. Okay. So they're upset because they have no agency. They don't get to make decisions, etc. Yeah.
I also think that they don't have anything to look for in terms of, I mean, the expectation, something that you wish for, because this food also looks as if it's the self-indulgence of pleasure, of like eating something that, you know, you crave. And they could not even look forward to any future either, because they knew that they were going to wander forever. They knew that they would die there, and they know what they will eat, and it's almost like there's no expectation anymore. And they lost purpose because they lost this idea of what they were going to, the derech. And when you lose purpose, you become self-indulgent, and you are like just thinking of you.
Beautiful. So the Or HaChaim, right, like very much agrees with you that the people who were complaining, they knew they weren't going to make it into the promised land. This is still the people that were going to die out. They have nothing to look forward to. Same food every day. They don't make choices about where they're walking. They don't make choices about where they're setting up. They don't make choices about their food or what it's going to be like. We don't think about like how much food, unless we're going on vacation, right? When I told people that I was going to Montreal, all of a sudden I found out like every restaurant that like exists in Montreal, right? Go to this place, go to that place, go to this place, go to that place. Les, you know how much people care about food, right? Okay. So follow-up question, is being angel-like, right? They're like the angels, right? Being taken care of. By the way, do angels get to make their own decisions? No. They have one purpose, right? One job. That's all they do. All right. Is it an ideal? And I put this question here for you. Why might people prefer being ordinary humans to being like angels? Nancy. Get my steps.
We get to make our own decisions. Wrong, right, horrible, wonderful. We have a modicum of control. An angel does not. An angel does not think. We have that wonderful gift of thought, our own thoughts, and following them, at least mentally, wherever they go. We may not always act on them, but we have that creative gift from God. An angel does not.
Okay. All right, so one of the things that distinguishes us from angels is being created in the image of God. And part of that means being creators ourselves. And we don't get to have that. We don't get to have that. Okay. All right, now we can keep going. All right, so let's look at the cheskuni on the bottom of this page, and then we can go back to the snake. All right, the cheskuni I don't know where the mic is or who's reading or what's happening. All right. All right. Where's the mic? Whose turn is it to read? Oh, okay. Do you want to read the? Nope. Okay. Do you want to read, Carol? Here. Yeah.
Because there is no bread, until now we thought we would soon enter the land and eat from its produce. Alternatively, miserable means it does not give a person strength.
Okay. So Cooney is shifting the complaint here. How? Right? We thought we were going to eat from the bread of the land, and it doesn't give us strength. Okay. You guys know the motzi, right? Right? Ha-motzi lechem min haaretz. All right, we give thanks to God for bread. Okay. What does it mean? Ha-motzi lechem min haaretz. Who brings forth bread from the earth. All right. Anybody in here make challah or sourdough or anything? Or any breads? I know you do, Nancy. Okay. Bread is a labor-intensive baking activity. All right? You cannot eat lechem min haaretz. Okay? Bread doesn't just come up from the ground. You have to work it, and it is hard. Okay? And we do the easy stuff because it's already been ground down for us, right? But we said God brings bread from the ground, and that does two things. Because it talks about, on the one hand, our dependence on God, but on the other hand, our own creativity and agency, right? Because we can't bring bread from the earth. God doesn't give us, God gives us the materials.
Because it requires the labor of humans to create it.
Beautiful. It requires the labor of humans. So God gives us the materials. We have to be creative in order to make this thing that we bless as if it's just from God. Okay. We've got it. Okay. Let's go back to the snake. Woohoo! Okay, so we have already done the copper snake and the Mishnah, where the snake isn't healing, right? But we're looking to heaven. So then we're going to go to the other page where it says the copper snake reappears. Do you see it? All right. The copper snake reappears. We are jumping all the way to 2 Kings. All right, 2 Kings. This is Hezekiah ruled from 715 to 686 BCE. Guess what? We still have the snake. We still have the copper snake from the wilderness. Okay. Will you read?
King Ezekiel destroys the copper snake because the people had begun worshipping it. He abolished the shrines and smashed the pillars and cut down the sacred post. He also broke into pieces the bronze serpent that Moses had made, for until that time the Israelites had been offering sacrifices to it. It was called Nehushtat. He trusted only in the Eternal, the God of Israel. There was none like him among all the kings of Judah after him, nor among those before him.
All right. So this is hundreds of years later, right? But we still have our snake on the pole, right? Look. He's breaking the post into pieces, right? He's shattering this serpent. They have a name for it. They are offering it sacrifices. So maybe it did start as an icon or as a tool to just help us to look up, as a tool to help us think about what was above us, but eventually it became a form of idol worship. So King Hezekiah is so special because he is the one who actually destroys it. Now, we're going to look at, we're going to wonder about how it is that he is the first one out of all of the kings to get rid of this serpent, right? Why didn't Moses get rid of it right after everybody was healed? Why didn't Joshua, right? Why didn't anybody else? All right, so let's look together. We're going to read from the Talmud Bavli in Chulin. So if you're doing Daf Yomi, we're in Chulin. Here we go. All right. Do you want to read it? Okay.
The Gemara resumes its discussion of the statement that the righteous would not experience mishaps. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Zuraz, son of the father-in-law of Rabbi Meir, testified before Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi about Rabbi Meir that he ate the leaf of a vegetable in Beit She'an without tithing or separating teruma, as he holds that Beit She'an is not part of Eretz Israel and therefore is not sacred with its sanctity.
Okay, we need to pause because I love that your brow was furrowed. There's a lot of in-speak right now, okay, going on in this passage. This is all background to the story, which takes us back to Hezekiah. But just so you know, there is something called tithing. You guys have probably heard of tithing. In a modern context, right, it's giving 10 to 20% of what we earn to charity, to the temple, etc. Okay? Back in the day, we were farmers, right? So tithing was part of our produce that we took out of the field. But guess what? Tithing in that manner only applied in the land of Israel. Okay? So they really need to know where the borders are. We still do, right? But they really needed to know where the borders are because if I can't eat of something that hasn't been tithed, or else it's not kosher, okay? But this is actually for truma purposes, so this is going to the priests. Okay, this is going to the temple and the priest. You have to be extra careful with a lot more layers, but we don't need to get into all of those layers. But there is this area, Beit She'an, and they're debating, is this area actually part of the land of Israel or not? And this guy is so confident, Rabbi Meir, so confident that it's not Israel, that he eats a leaf off of lettuce growing there or something, okay? All right. All to say, that's the background of what's happening. We're going to keep reading because it'll get to the point where it actually talks about our Torah portion. Or not our Torah portion. Yes, our Torah portion. Keep going.
His brothers and his father's household united against him and said to him, in a place where your fathers and the fathers of your fathers treated untithed produce as forbidden, will you treat it as permitted?
Okay, so pause. So basically what they're saying is, how could you eat that leaf? How could you eat? It may be a debate, but you're going to disagree with your father and your grandfather and all of that, right? You're going to disagree with the tradition that you've inherited? Okay.
Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi interpreted this verse to them. As he broke in pieces the copper serpent that Moses had made, for until those days the children of Israel burned incense to it, and it was called Nehushtan.
Okay, so Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi is bringing in our verse from Hezekiah where the serpent is finally destroyed as a proof text. Keep going.
Is it possible that they burned incense to it and Asa, a righteous king, came and did not eradicate it? And Jehoshaphat, a righteous king, came and did not eradicate it? And it remained until the time of Hezekiah. But didn't Asa and Jehoshaphat eradicate all objects of idol worship in the world?
Right? How is it possible the snake was still around? Right? That's not possible. Yes, there were kings that were not good, but we have kings that were righteous that we have written down that they destroyed all objects of idol worship. How could they be worshiping it as an idol when it already said all the idol worship is gone? Wait, let her finish and then Richard.
Rather, it must be that in not eradicating the serpent, his ancestors left Hezekiah room through which to achieve prominence.
You can skip the Hebrew.
I too can say that my ancestors left me room through which to achieve prominence by permitting untithed produce from Bet Shean. The Gemara adds, from here, one learns with regard to a Torah scholar who states a new matter of halakha, that one does not move him from his position, and some say one does not disregard him, and some say one does not attribute his innovative statement to his conceit.
Okay, we're gonna play with like this translation a little bit. It's really fun, but okay. So it's not that they didn't know that this was idol worship or that this was a problem, but if they did everything, he would have nothing to do, right? So they gave him this so he could like have some respect, so he could be also someone who abolished idols, right? Something great. And so he is saying, just like Hezekiah's ancestors gave him this path to innovate and make a name for himself, so too my father and my grandfather also gave me a halakha, gave me something that I could teach, that I could rule. And then from here it says a Torah scholar who states a matter of halakha, and you can see the Hebrew, how the Hebrew is this like similar in all three. So one does not move him from his position, right? So if I as chief rabbi am giving a new halakha, you don't take away my title as chief rabbi. Or they say, one does not disregard him, meaning you don't ignore him. Or the third one does not attribute it to him, right? You can issue all the halachot you want, no one's going to remember your name, okay? Like attributed to it, okay. But all to say, there's this possibility for innovation. All right, Richard.
Possibility for innovation. I hear linen and wool. We're not supposed to wear clothing.
Right.
It's a mixture of those fibers. I haven't a clue why. It doesn't make sense to me, okay? But I'm aware of it, and I've studied it, and I'll pass it along if anybody asks me about it. But I think what I'm hearing here is that I don't know what the future is going to hold. There may be somebody at some point in time out there in the future where their life's experiences and their societal changes, or the world is turned in such a way such that the reason for linen and wool becomes clear. And I think this is saying we've got to at least be prepared to accept that in some way, shape, or form. Or maybe not.
So I love Torah.
But it begged the question, why didn't God, because he could have made bread just come ready-made from the earth. He could have made it that way. Why did he fix it the way he chose to, so that we have to have something left to do? Just coming back to this point.
All right, let's go back. And by go back, let's go way back. Let's go back to Adam and Eve again. Right? What's the situation in the garden?
Snake?
No, perfection. Who said it? Yes. Awesome. Perfection. Perfection. I love and when we get the curse, who remembers what man is cursed with? I really should have put this on the worksheet. Labor. Labor. Now you're only going to eat by the sweat of your brow. I love one of my favorite midrashim, because I just think it's really bizarre, doesn't really teach much, is that it used to be that the entire tree was edible. So I think of like giant broccoli, like a forest of giant broccoli where you could just, okay. But now we have to work, right? This is our curse. Think about it. Our curse is that we're going to have to work, right, for men. For women, yes, we get pain in childbirth, but do you know what else we get? Desire. We are cursed with desire for our partner. Cursed with jewelry. All right. We get to make choices. I sometimes think about that, like when we think about what happens after we die, right? One of the ideas is that we re-enter the garden, right? And this is my impersonation of the angel with the sword at guarding the gates of Eden. If you didn't know immediately, that's what it was. Okay. But that angel is supposed to wield what our biggest fear is, and guess what? For most of us, it's death, right? That we go back to the garden, right? And when we think about, since we did grow up, not only did I grow up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, the city of churches, but a lot of us grew up here in the United States, and we have a very Christian image of what heaven is, right? We're on our, we're playing our hearts up on a cloud. Everything is perfect. Sounds boring, right? Boring. So here we were in Eden, perfect, heavenly, right? Who remembers how long it took us to sin? Couple hours, yes. The whole thing happened the same day. We were created and we were bored out of our minds, right? We had one rule, we couldn't follow it. That was it, right? But had we not eaten, we would not desire, we would not work, we would not have enmity. And how boring would our life be if we had no passion, if we had no desire, if we didn't want to create? And so now, like the snakes, here we are. We're back. We're back in an angelic state in our Torah portion. We are eating the food of angels. Everything is provided for us. We don't need to lift a finger. We don't need to do anything. And what happens? We're bored. We complain. We sin. We complain against God. And ask Moses, like, why didn't you defend us, right? And so the punishment is snakes. There's this, like, beautiful parallel between the stories of perfection being unsatisfying and evil being the thing that brings us out of that state. Victor, what did you want to say?
I wanted,
Yeah.
works, I wanted
After
to
him,
share
you can talk.
Alejos Carpentier, The Kingdom of This World. I don't know if you've read the book or not, Nobel laureate, because it sums up exactly what you just said.
Oh, Dad's making you read. Oh, I love it. Okay.
In the kingdom of heaven, there is no grandeur to be won, inasmuch as there all is an established hierarchy, the unknown is revealed, existence is infinite, there is no possibility of sacrifice, all is rest and joy. For this reason, bowed down by suffering and duties, beautiful in the midst of his misery, capable of loving in the face of afflictions and trials, man finds his greatness, his fullest measure, only in the kingdom of this world.
Beautiful. Beautiful. What book is it?
Alejos Carpentier, The Kingdom of This World.
Victor has that in his office with a wheelchair person coming over the finish line.
Oh, I love that. All right, what did you?
Hi, I just had a kind of a question / comment. Going back to hamotzi,
Yeah.
like we give thanks to God for bread. And the idea of like work and like working to make the bread and like, you know, putting labor into making the bread. So it almost sounds like gratitude through actions.
Yeah.
Just something that came to mind for me, like gratitude through the action, like grateful for the opportunity to work to make this bread that sustains people and families, and expressing that gratitude to God and that thanks to God in the form of prayer.
I love it. Okay, so when we're saying the motzi, we're not only doing what I said earlier of like understanding that everything comes from God, and then like thinking about how God gives us the materials, but we have to do the work, but we're also thanking God for like partnering with us, for like giving us that dignity to be able to partner with God to create something. I love it. Okay, so the snake in the commentary here that we see in Hulin is an opportunity for Hezekiah the king to innovate, for him to be somebody who contributed, for him to be somebody who changed things. And as he's changing things, as he's innovating, as he's destroying this thing that they've been carrying with them for hundreds of years, right? He's also admitting dependence on God. And I think in our Torah, but also so much in our lives, it is walking that tightrope of wanting to be completely dependent on a higher power and just having everything provided for us, and thinking that there is no higher power and everything is dependent on me. And like, how do we create that holy space in between where we understand that this is a partnership? How can I create and understand that this bread was not created just by me? I have to give thanks to something bigger. How can I be healed and understand that this cure is really trying to get me to look up? And how can I understand that we aren't done with the work? We still have so much that we need to put together, that we need to grind, that we need to combine in order to create a world that is palatable. Les.
I think that the snake on the staff served more as a warning than, you know, than anything else. Because of all what happened, you know, the snakes came in forbidding God. And so to do that, you have the snake on the staff, and, you know, remember this or?
Yeah. Okay, so I do want to, because it's time to wrap up, but I'm happy to hear your comments. I do want to wrap up, but I want to leave us with that question and blessing of how restive we get when everything is just given to us. And then the danger of creating idols out of what we make ourselves, and how creativity should always remain a partnership between our hands and the divine. Shabbat Shalom.